Hello everyone. You are on the channel, The Middle Ages. Today we're diving into a topic that sounds like it's straight out of a fairy tale. The royal wedding. But forget what you've seen in the movies. Medieval royal weddings were less about romance and more about high-stakes politics, power, and securing the future of a kingdom. These weren't just parties, they were massive diplomatic events that could change the course of history. So, let's pull back the velvet curtain and see what getting married was really like for the kings, queens, princes, and princesses of the Middle Ages. First, let's talk about the couple. Did they even know each other? Most of the time, no. Royal marriages were strategic alliances. A prince from England might be betrothed to a princess from France to seal a peace treaty, or a daughter might be married off to a powerful duke to secure his loyalty. The bride and groom were essentially pawns on a giant chessboard. Their personal feelings were completely irrelevant. In fact, many royal couples met for the very first time just days before their wedding, sometimes even on the wedding day itself. The age of marriage was also drastically different. It wasn't uncommon for betrothals to be arranged when the future bride and groom were still toddlers. These were legally binding contracts between powerful families, while the actual marriage ceremony and consummation would usually wait until they were of a more suitable age. Typically around 14 for girls and a bit older for boys, the political deal was sealed long before. Imagine being promised to someone from a foreign land you've never met, all before you could even read. Now, the journey to the wedding itself was an event. A princess traveling to her new kingdom would be accompanied by a huge procession called a retinue. This wasn't just a few ladies in waiting. We're talking hundreds, sometimes thousands of people. Nobles, knights, servants, cooks, and wagons loaded with her dowry. Her dowry was a crucial part of the marriage contract. It could include vast amounts of land, chests of gold and silver, precious jewels, and even claims to other territories. This procession was a display of her family's wealth and power, designed to impress her new subjects and, more importantly, her new family. The wedding ceremony, when it finally happened, was a public spectacle. Unlike today's private affairs, a royal wedding took place literally on the church steps, for all to see. This was called the usus, and it was a public declaration of the union. The priest would conduct the ceremony outdoors, where the couple would exchange vows and rings in front of a crowd of nobles and commoners alike. It was a way of making the marriage official in the eyes of God and the people. Only after this public part would the royal party move inside the church for a mass. And the wedding feast? It was legendary. We're talking about a celebration that could last for days or even weeks. These weren't just big dinners. They were extravagant displays of wealth and power meant to awe every guest. Hundreds of different dishes would be served. You'd see roasted swans, peacocks redressed in their feathers, massive meat pies, and elaborate sugar sculptures called subtleties, shaped like castles or mythical beasts. Entertainment was constant. There were jesters, acrobats, minstrels playing music, and knights competing in jousting tournaments. The amount of food and wine consumed was staggering, and the cost was astronomical, sometimes bankrupting the royal treasury for years to come. Let's talk about wedding attire. Forget the simple white dress. Royal brides in the Middle Ages wore the most luxurious fabrics and colors their families could afford. Bright colors like red, blue, and gold were popular and showed off wealth, as the dyes were incredibly expensive. The gowns would be made of velvet, silk, or brocade, often embroidered with gold thread and encrusted with pearls and gemstones. The more lavish the dress, the more powerful the family appeared. The groom's attire was just as opulent, designed to match the splendor of his bride and the occasion. One of the most awkward and crucial parts of the wedding night was the public bedding ceremony. This might sound strange to us, but it was incredibly important. After the feasting, the bride and groom would be escorted to the bedchamber by a crowd of family, nobles, and even priests. The bed would be blessed, and the couple would be put to bed together. The guests would only leave after seeing the couple in bed, symbolizing the consummation of the marriage. This public ritual was necessary to prove the marriage was legally valid. Without consummation, the marriage could be annulled, and the whole political alliance would fall apart. It was a public duty, not a private moment. So, who were some of the most famous medieval royal couples? One of the most powerful was Eleanor of Aquitaine and Henry II of England. Eleanor was one of the wealthiest and most powerful women in Europe. Her first marriage to the King of France was annulled, and she then married the young Henry, soon to be King of England. Their marriage brought the vast lands of Aquitaine under English control, creating the massive Angevin Empire. Their relationship was stormy and full of conflict, but their union fundamentally reshaped the map of Europe. Another famous and rather tragic example is Isabella of France and Edward II of England. Their marriage was meant to create peace between England and France. However, Edward notoriously neglected Isabella in favor of his male favorites. Fed up with his disastrous rule and personal humiliation, Isabella took a lover, raised an army, and invaded England. She overthrew her own husband and placed their son on the throne, earning her the nickname the She-Wolf of France. It's a stark reminder that when these political marriages went wrong, the consequences could be violent and dramatic. What about love? Was it completely absent? Not always. While marriages were arranged for political reasons, love could sometimes blossom over time. Some royal couples grew to have deep affection and respect for each other, forming true partnerships. Philippa of Hainault and Edward III of England are a great example. Their arranged marriage developed into a famously happy and fruitful one. Philippa was a beloved queen, known for her kindness and wisdom, and she and Edward had many children, securing the royal line. But these stories were more the exception than the rule. For most, duty to their dynasty came first, last, and always. In conclusion, a medieval royal wedding was a complex, calculated, and public affair. It was the ultimate merger and acquisition, where kingdoms were the companies and princesses were the assets. It involved immense wealth, intricate diplomacy, and public rituals that seem bizarre to us today. From the toddler betrothals to the public bedding ceremony, every step was carefully orchestrated to secure power, forge alliances, and ensure the continuation of a dynasty. It was a world away from our modern ideas of marrying for love. The fairy tale wedding was, in reality, the most serious political business of the age. Thanks so much for joining us on the Middle Ages channel. What part of the medieval royal wedding surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this journey back in time, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next exploration into the past. See you next time.